Don't you just love it when Vancouver sports talk radio takes off again? Yes, baby, we are heading into the 2024-2025 season, and Satiar Shah on yesterday's edition of Sportsnet 650 had himself a take that I saw a lot of people replying to, some in an angry way, others in a more agreeable way. This is a conversation about the Canucks and their prospects that I think we need to talk about. So, I'm going to leave two links in the description. Firstly, it's an article published by Philip Gosselin from yesterday. This is on CanucksDaily.com. Canucks top prospects on the market. Analyst has a wild take on the subject. The reason I'm using this article is because it sets up a lot of the context and it gives us pretty much the transcription as to what Satiar Shah says. And I'll also leave a link in the description to the Sportsnet 650 video, that in which has the Canucks Central clip, wherein Shah has the take. I would not lose a moment of sleep trading one of those guys if I'm getting a legitimate top 4 defenseman that will be here long term. This was posted yesterday, and the clip is pretty spicy. Let's go out there and read what the article has to say to get our scoop. The Canucks have had an active summer, and their recent moves have confirmed their playoff contender status. Along with that tag come expectations. Expectations that will have Patrik Allvin exploring the trade market to improve the Canucks, hopefully in the long run. With their developmental staff and their most recent draft selections, the Canucks have built a prospect pool strong enough to be in the conversation for just about any player that emerges on the trade market, and according to recent reports, Allvin shouldn't shy away from trading away one of his top 2 prospects in Lekkerimaki or Willander. This is what Satiar Shah said on the show. I'll trade one of the 2 top prospects. I don't care. On Sportsnet 650, the analyst Satiar Shah stunned many by stating that he wouldn't mind trading away one of the Canucks' 2 top Swedish prospects if it meant acquiring a 24 or 25-year-old player who could be with the team for a long time. The quote reads this: "If I'm getting a legitimate top 4, legitimate top 4 defenseman that could be here for a long time, one that is what William Willander will be in a few years." And with that in mind, I wanted to dive into this, because if you know me well enough, you know this is the type of conversation that I absolutely love. The philosophical debates, is it better to stock up for the future? Is it better to focus on the now? Where exactly do you go here? There isn't really a wrong answer if you're trying to be faithful to one or the other theories, I guess. I know earlier this week, when the Young Stars Canucks roster was announced, Rick Dhaliwal was going out there saying, hey, this is what happens when you trade away your firsts and your seconds for years and years. The team doesn't have the best prospect pool. And that's just referencing the Young Stars tournament. That's not necessarily dissing Lekkerimaki or Willander. They're good prospects, and they're probably going to be NHL players sometime over the next few years. But that's just it. It's them too, and then who else? Arshdeep Bains, Max Sasson, Aatti Räty, these guys are good, but the prospect pool, you could understand, is definitely weaker than other teams like Chicago's or Utah's or Montreal's even. So the Canucks, they don't have the best prospect pool in the NHL, but that's okay, right? So when you think about it like that, where do you draw the line? That's the question. Satiar Shah is saying, hey, if the team has themselves the opportunity of getting a middle-aged, young defenseman that can stick around for a long time, I don't mind trading away a Willander. I don't mind trading away a Lekkerimaki. Why is that? Well, it's because if the Vancouver Canucks wanted to put all their chips into the now, then what's going to help them out in doing that? A Lekkerimaki, who's probably going to be an NHL player, maybe sometime this upcoming season, but he won't be a full-time guy until at the very least 2025, 2026. Or Willander, who is going to do the same thing, spending another season at BU, and then maybe breaking into the AHL in 25-26, then maybe becoming a full-time NHL guy. By the time 2026-2027 rolls around, what's going to happen in 2026-2027? JT Miller is going to be, 2 seasons older. He'll be 33 at that point. Pettersson will be 27. Quinn Hughes will be 26. Not to say that those guys can't be effective when they're that old, but they're already effective now. 2 years prior, and the team is competitive too. So if you wanted to say, why don't we trade away Willander for a guy who will be as good as what Willander will be in a few years, but that new guy is going to be good now? Like Rasmus Andersson, for example. That name was tossed out in the article here. In this segment, Satiar Shah brought up the Flames star defender Rasmus Andersson as a potential fit for that particular type of trade. The issue with Andersson is that he may be too old to fit into the Canucks core, but might be commanding more money than the Canucks can afford at the end of the 25-26 season. Okay, the age with Andersson isn't an issue. Satiar Shah did say 24-25, that's kind of the timeline he was looking for, but Rasmus Andersson's 27. Sure, he isn't really, as young as a Petey or a Hughes, but he's definitely younger than JT Miller. So, there's that. It's just an example, right? I'm not going to say that Rasmus Andersson is going to be the immediate trade target in this respect, but still, it's the philosophical idea behind it, trading away your younger prospects who are going to be good in 2025, 2026, 2027, for guys who can be good at that point in 2026 as well, but who can also be good now because they are a bit older. It's the price you have to pay to have a competitive team in the now. And while Rick Dhaliwal was talking about how the Canucks prospect core is weak because they have traded away so many draft picks and prospects over the past few years, look at where the team is now. They made the second round last season. They were one game away, and they had two shots at making the third round, and they got that far without their star goaltender and without their best goal scorer in the final game against Edmonton. The forward core is looking better than ever this upcoming season, and you could say the only upgrade they need is on D. The Vancouver Canucks have expectations now. And with that in mind, is it not appropriate to even debate the idea as to trading away some of your top-tier assets that are not going to help you out in this season because you want to expand more on what you have right in front of you right now? I'm not saying that Lekkerimaki and Willander are not going to have long NHL careers, but if you could get a guy who is a few years older who can help out now as well as also having a long-term future with the team, I agree with Satiar Shah. I would be interested in trading for that kind of a player. If it's like Willander and a second or something, or a second and a third, or Willander, another prospect that's not really all too great, and then a third for Rasmus Andersson, I'd do that. Sure, the money needs to work itself out, and there's a lot of cap hocus pocus that needs to get through to make that kind of a thing work, but assuming the dollars are okay, assuming they have an avenue to fix that, I would do that. Rasmus Andersson on this blue line would be a huge upgrade over Tyler Myers on the top four. And having the versatility where it's like, okay, you need to sit one of Derek Forbort or Desharnais every single game. That's a really good problem to have. Sure, somebody's going to get a little bit ticked off because they're not playing as much as they could be, but the team is going to be competitive as a result. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Satiar Shah's commentary on the radio the other day as to trading away one of Lekkerimaki, one of Willander. He straight up says in the clip, I wouldn't mind trading away one of the top two prospects if it means getting this kind of a player in return. Top two prospects, of course, referring to those two Swedish guys. Do you think it's an appropriate thing to go out there and think about, would you do the same thing? Is it all dependent on the player that would be coming back in exchange? There are some other guys that you could say fit in that age range, 24, 25, that might be targets, might not be. Maybe they're not polished enough, maybe they're not developed enough. There are some guys in that age range that are good, but other guys that are starting to blossom around this time frame now too. For Lekkerimaki or Willander, is that the kind of thing that you would be interested in trading for if you were Alvin and or Rutherford? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.